Lou Costello was one of the most beloved comedians of all time, a name synonymous with laughter, charm, and classic Hollywood entertainment. As one half of the legendary comedy duo Abbott and Costello, he brought joy to millions with his quick wit and unforgettable routines like Who's on First? But behind the scenes, his life was filled with heartbreak, financial struggles, and devastating personal losses. From a tragic accident that shook him to his core to the dissolution of his iconic partnership and his untimely passing, this is the heartbreaking real-life story of Lou Costello. Louis Francis Costello was born on March 6, 1906, in Paterson, New Jersey, to Sebastiano Costello, an insurance salesman, and Helen Regge, a silk weaver. His father, originally from Caserta, Italy, was of full Italian descent, while his mother had a mixed heritage of Italian, French, and Irish ancestry. Her grandfather, Francesco Regge, was a native of Piedmont, Italy, further tying Costello's roots to his Italian lineage. Growing up in Paterson, Costello attended public school 15, where he quickly gained a reputation as a natural athlete. He excelled in basketball and was reportedly a two-time Paterson free throw champion. His impressive basketball skills would later be showcased on screen in Here Come the Coeds, 1945, where he performed his own trick shots. Beyond the basketball court, he also stepped into the boxing ring, fighting under the name Lou King, proving that his talents extended beyond comedy and entertainment. Lou Costello was a devoted fan of silent film legend Charlie Chaplin, whose comedic brilliance inspired his own aspirations in entertainment. In 1927, determined to make a name for himself in Hollywood, Costello hitchhiked across the country to California, hoping to break into acting. However, opportunities were scarce, and he found himself taking whatever work he could get, mostly as a laborer or an extra at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and Hal Roach Studios. His athleticism, however, gave him an edge, occasionally landing him jobs as a stuntman. One of his notable early roles was performing stunts in The Trail of 98, 1928. He also made an uncredited appearance in The Battle of the Century, 1927, a classic Laurel and Hardy film where he can be spotted sitting ringside during a boxing match. At some point, Costello decided to adopt a stage name, reportedly choosing Costello in honor of actress Helene Costello. However, his brother Anthony, Pat Costello, had already been using the surname Costello in his career as a professional musician. Whether the choice was a coincidence or a tribute to his brother remains unclear, but the name would soon become famous in comedy history. With the rise of talking pictures in 1928, Lou Costello returned to the East Coast, determined to gain experience in live theater. While traveling, he found himself stranded in St. Joseph, Missouri, with little money and no job prospects. Thinking on his feet, he convinced a local burlesque producer to give him a shot as a Dutch comic, a term derived from Deutsch, referring to a German-style comedic character, a tradition popularized by duos like Joe Weber and Lou Fields. By the end of the year, he had made his way back to New Jersey, ready to take his next step in entertainment. In 1929, Costello began performing in burlesque, joining the Mutual Burlesque circuit. However, with the onset of the Great Depression, the Mutual wheel collapsed, forcing Costello to seek work elsewhere. He found jobs with several stock burlesque companies, including those run by the Minskys, who were among the biggest names in the industry. During this time, he crossed paths with Bud Abbott, a sharp and talented straight man with a knack for timing. Although they had met before, they didn't perform together until 1935, when Costello's regular partner fell ill during a show at the El Tinge Theater on 42nd Street in New York City. Needing a replacement, Costello turned to Abbott, and their chemistry was undeniable. The collaboration worked so well that they officially teamed up in 1936. a partnership that would soon change the landscape of comedy forever. With their act gaining momentum, Abbott and Costello signed with the William Morris Talent Agency, which helped propel them onto the national stage. Their big break came in 1938 when they landed featured roles on The Kate Smith Hour, one of the most popular radio variety shows of the time. It was on Smith's program that the duo introduced their now legendary Who's on First routine to a nationwide audience. Their rapid-fire wordplay and impeccable timing captivated listeners, solidifying them as a comedy sensation. As their popularity grew, so did their opportunities. Soon after joining the show, Abbott and Costello began refining their material with the help of John Grant, a comedy writer who would remain a key contributor to their act for years. Their radio success led to a major opportunity on Broadway. In 1939, they appeared in the hit musical The Streets of Paris, further cementing their reputation as rising stars. By 1940, they were hosting a summer replacement series for The Fred Allen Show when Universal Pictures took notice and signed them for supporting roles in the comedy One Night in the Tropics. Though they weren't the film's leads, they stole the spotlight with their classic routines, including a shortened version of Who's on First. The full version would later appear in the Naughty 90s, released in 1945. Their true breakthrough came in 1941 with the release of Buck Privates, a military comedy that became a massive box office hit. Audiences couldn't get enough of Abbott and Costello, and the film's success led to a whirlwind year. 3 more movies followed in 1941, and by the end of the year, they were ranked as the number 1, 3 box office stars in America. That same year, they became regulars on Edgar Bergen's The Chase and Sanborn program, further expanding their reach. In October 1942, they launched their own radio series, The Abbott and Costello Show, on NBC. The program ran successfully on NBC until 1947, then moved to ABC, where it continued until 1949. With their unmatched comedic chemistry and ever-growing popularity, Abbott and Costello had become one of the biggest comedy acts in the country, dominating both radio and the silver screen. As Abbott and Costello rose to fame, tensions between them began to surface. Their first major disagreement reportedly happened in 1936, over a booking at a minstrel show at the Steel Pier in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Costello was eager to take the job, seeing it as an opportunity outside of their usual burlesque circuit. But Abbott was hesitant. In an effort to convince him, Costello offered Abbott a larger share of their earnings, and he eventually agreed. By the end of 1941, however, Costello pushed for a permanent change in their financial arrangement, insisting that their earnings be split 60-40 in his favor. Abbott, despite being the senior member of the duo, agreed to the terms. While their professional partnership remained successful, these financial imbalances would later contribute to the strain between them. Between 1940 and 1956, Abbott and Costello starred in 36 films, becoming 2 of the most popular and highest-paid entertainers during World War II. Their movies, including Buck Privates, Hold That Ghost, Who Done It, Pardon My Sarong, The Time of Their Lives, Buck Privates Come Home, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, cemented their place as comedy legends. Beyond Hollywood, they played an important role in the war effort. In the summer of 1942, the duo embarked on an intense 35-day cross-country tour to promote and sell war bonds. Their efforts were so successful that the U.S. Treasury Department credited them with raising an astounding $85 million in war bond sales. However, tragedy struck the following year. After completing a winter tour of Army bases in March 1943, Costello suffered an attack of rheumatic fever, leaving him unable to work for 6 months. He recovered just in time to return to their popular radio show on November 4th, 1943. But what should have been a triumphant comeback turned into an unimaginable nightmare. While rehearsing at the NBC studio, Costello received devastating news. His infant son, Lou Jr., had drowned in the family pool. The child had managed to loosen the slats of his playpen and slipped into the water, unnoticed by the nanny. The heartbreaking accident shattered Costello, marking one of the darkest moments of his life. Despite his overwhelming grief, he insisted on going through with the show that same night, telling Abbott, "Where else am I going to be?" His ability to perform under such tragic circumstances became one of the most poignant moments in his career, revealing the depth of his professionalism and resilience. Lou Jr. was just 2 days shy of his first birthday when the tragedy struck. That night, Lou Costello had asked his wife to keep their son awake so he could hear his father on the radio for the first time. But instead of a joyful milestone, the night became one of unbearable loss. Despite the devastating news, Costello refused to cancel the broadcast. "Wherever he is tonight, I want him to hear me," he said, and went on with the show. No one in the audience knew what had happened until after the broadcast, when Bud Abbott addressed the crowd, revealing the heartbreaking events of the day. He praised Costello for his extraordinary professionalism, calling him the embodiment of the phrase, "The show must go on." But the weight of his son's death changed him forever. Maxine Andrews of the Andrews Sisters, who frequently worked with Abbott and Costello, later remarked that Costello never seemed the same after losing Lou Jr. He didn't seem as fun-loving and as warm. He seemed to anger easily. There was a difference in his attitude. By 1945, tensions between Abbott and Costello had reached a breaking point. When Costello fired a household maid and later found out that Abbott had hired her instead, he declared that their partnership was over. The rift was so deep that, although they were still under contract with Universal Pictures, they barely interacted while filming their 1946 movies, Little Giant and The Time of Their Lives. In both films, their famous comedic chemistry was almost non-existent, as they shared little screen time and rarely spoke off camera. Abbott attempted to mend their fractured relationship in a deeply personal way. Knowing how much Costello had suffered after his son's death, he suggested that the Rheumatic Fever Foundation they had started together be renamed the Lou Costello Jr. Youth Foundation. The gesture moved Costello profoundly, and the foundation remains active in Los Angeles to this day, continuing their legacy of giving back. Meanwhile, their radio show moved to ABC, formerly the NBC Blue Network, where it aired from 1947 to 1949. Unlike their earlier live broadcasts, these episodes were pre-recorded, signaling yet another shift in their evolving partnership. Though their professional success continued, the personal bond that had once fueled their comedic brilliance was beginning to unravel. In 1951, Abbott and Costello expanded their presence to live television, becoming part of the rotating cast of hosts for the Colgate Comedy Hour, one of the most popular variety shows of the era. They joined an elite lineup that included comedy giants like Eddie Cantor, Martin and Lewis, and Bob Hope, further cementing their place as America's favorite comedy duo. Their transition to television was seamless, allowing them to showcase their quick wit and physical comedy to a broader audience at a time when television was rapidly overtaking radio as the dominant entertainment medium. By 1952, they launched their own sitcom, The Abbott and Costello Show, which aired in syndication nationwide. Unlike their previous work in radio and film, this show gave Costello greater control. He retained the rights to the 30-minute program while Abbott worked on salary. The series was a loose adaptation of their classic movie and radio routines, featuring slapstick humor, rapid-fire banter, and their signature absurd misunderstandings. Though it only ran for 2 seasons from 1952 to 1954, the show became a staple in syndication, earning a lasting place in television history. For decades after its original run, reruns introduced new generations to the duo's timeless brand of comedy. Despite their continued success, 1954 marked a turning point for the pair. During production of the film Fireman Save My Child, Costello suffered a relapse of rheumatic fever, an illness that had plagued him for years. The health scare was severe enough to force him out of the film, an extremely rare occurrence for a performer as dedicated as Costello. With production already underway, the studio scrambled to find replacements, ultimately recasting the lead roles with contract players Hugh O'Brien and Buddy Hackett. Though the film was completed without them, their absence was a sign that Costello's health was beginning to take a toll on their career. Despite his ongoing health struggles, Costello remained active in public life. In 1956, he was honored on NBC's This Is Your Life, a television program hosted by Ralph Edwards that celebrated the lives and careers of notable figures. The tribute took Costello by surprise, as the show was known for ambushing its guests and walking them through emotional reflections on their lives. It was a rare moment of recognition for a man who had spent decades making others laugh, often overshadowed by his larger-than-life comedy routines. The segment not only paid homage to his contributions to entertainment, but also highlighted the resilience and dedication that had defined his career. By the mid-1950s, Abbott and Costello were no longer the dominant box office draws they had once been. Their extensive exposure across both film and television had diluted their appeal, and a new comedy duo, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, had risen to take their place as the era's top comedy act, much like Abbott and Costello had been a decade earlier. In 1955, after 15 years with Universal Pictures, the duo failed to reach a new contract agreement with the studio and parted ways with the company that had helped make them stars. Financial troubles added to their difficulties. In the early 1950s, both Abbott and Costello found themselves in trouble with the Internal Revenue Service, forcing them to sell their large homes as well as the rights to some of their films to settle their debts. By the time they released their final film together, Dance With Me, Henry, 1956, their careers were in decline. The film performed poorly at the box office and received lukewarm reviews, marking a disappointing end to their cinematic partnership. Despite the setbacks, Abbott and Costello ended their professional relationship on amicable terms in early 1957. While Abbott retired from performing, Costello continued working in entertainment, collaborating with other comedians, including Sidney Fields, during performances in Las Vegas. He also pursued film and television opportunities, making multiple guest appearances on Steve Allen's The Tonight Show, where he often performed his classic routines with Louis Nye or Tom Poston, taking on the straight man role. In 1958, Costello surprised audiences by taking on a rare dramatic role in the Tobias Jones Story, an episode of the hit television series Wagon Train. It was a departure from his usual comedic performances, showing a different side of his talent. Though his time as part of Hollywood's most famous comedy duo had come to an end, Costello remained dedicated to entertaining audiences in new ways, determined to keep his career alive even as the golden era of Abbott and Costello faded into history. On January 30th, 1934, Lou Costello married Ann Battler, a burlesque chorus dancer. Their marriage lasted until Costello's passing in 1959, and was filled with both joy and heartbreak. Together, they had 4 children, each of whom played a role in shaping Costello's personal life. Their first daughter, Patricia Patty Costello, was born in 1936, followed by Carol on December 23, 1938. In 1942, Lou Jr., nicknamed Butch, was born, bringing immense happiness to the family. However, tragedy struck just a year later when Lou Jr. accidentally drowned in the family pool. The loss devastated Costello, and he was never quite the same after the incident. Their youngest child, Christine, was born on August 15, 1947, completing their family. Beyond Costello's immediate family, his relatives also found their own places in the entertainment world. His older brother, Pat Costello, initially pursued a career in music, leading his own band before transitioning to Hollywood. There, he became an invaluable behind-the-scenes figure for Lou, serving as his stunt double in the first 10 Abbott and Costello films. Later, Pat took on an acting role himself, appearing in a supporting part in Mexican Hayride, 1948. Costello's family connections in the entertainment industry extended even further. His sister, Marie Catherine Cristillo, 1912 to 1988, married Joe Kirk, born Nat Curcuruto, an actor who frequently worked alongside Abbott and Costello. Kirk became best known for playing Mr. Baciagalupe, the comedic Italian baker and vendor on the duo's radio and television programs. He also appeared in several of their films, making him a familiar face among their fans. One of Costello's daughters, Carol, had early appearances in Abbott and Costello films, playing uncredited baby roles. As an adult, she found a career behind the scenes in television, working as a contestant coordinator for the game show Card Sharks. She also pursued music, performing as a nightclub singer. Carol's life was tragically cut short when she suffered a fatal stroke on March 29, 1987, at just 48 years old. At the time, she was married to Craig Martin, the eldest son of legendary entertainer Dean Martin. Her daughter, Markie Costello, carried on the family's show business legacy, building a career as an actress, director, and producer in both film and television. In 1981, Christine Costello, the youngest of Lou's children, ensured her father's legacy lived on by writing Lou's On First, a biography that provided an intimate look into his life and career. Not long after completing The 30-Foot Bride of Candy Rock, his only film following his split from Bud Abbott, Lou Costello suffered a heart attack. On March 3, 1959, just 3 days shy of his 53rd birthday, he passed away at Doctors Hospital in Beverly Hills. The details surrounding Costello's final hours remain unclear, with conflicting accounts of his last words. One widely shared version suggests that after enjoying a strawberry ice cream soda, he turned to those around him and declared, "That was the best I ever tasted," before slipping away. However, some contemporaneous obituaries paint a different picture. According to these reports, the ice cream soda exchange took place earlier in the day. Later, after his visitors had left, Costello asked his nurse to adjust his position in bed. Moments later, he suffered a fatal cardiac arrest. A funeral mass was held at St. Hugh, Francis de Sales Catholic Church in Sherman Oaks, where Costello had been a devoted parishioner. On March 8, 1959, he was laid to rest at Calvary Cemetery in East Los Angeles. Tragedy struck the Costello family again just months later. On December 5, 1959, Ann Costello, his wife of 25 years, died suddenly of an apparent heart attack at the age of 47. Some close to the family believe she had never recovered from the heartbreak of losing Lou. Today, the couple's crypts lie side by side, marking the final resting place of one of comedy's most beloved figures, and the woman who stood by his side through it all. In 1946, Lou Costello and Bud Abbott established the Lou Costello Jr. Youth Foundation, a 3.3-acre recreation center located on Olympic Boulevard in the Boyle Heights district of Los Angeles. Named in memory of Costello's late son, the foundation aimed to provide local youth with a safe space for sports and activities. The facility officially opened on May 3, 1947, featuring a baseball field, a swimming pool, and other amenities designed to support community engagement. In 1951, the center was sold to the city for less than a third of its original cost, ensuring that it could continue to operate under public ownership. The facility was later renamed the Lou Costello Jr. Youth Recreation Center, preserving Costello's legacy of giving back to children in need. On June 26, 1992, the city of Paterson, New Jersey, in partnership with the Lou Costello Memorial Association, unveiled a statue in honor of Costello in the newly renamed Lou Costello Memorial Park, located in the city's historic downtown district. The statue depicts Costello holding a baseball bat, a nod to the duo's legendary Who's on First routine. Over the years, the statue has made appearances in pop culture, notably featured in 2 episodes of The Sopranos and in the 2016 film Paterson. In 2005, the street where Costello was born, Madison Street, in Paterson's Sandy Hill neighborhood, was renamed Lou Costello Place in his honor. In March 2006, Paterson held a citywide celebration to mark the 100th anniversary of Costello's birth. Later that year, from June 24th to 26th, the Fort Lee Film Commission hosted a centennial film retrospective at the Fine Arts Theater in Hollywood. The event featured screenings of classic Abbott and Costello films, including the premiere of a digital film produced by teenagers from the Lou Costello Jr. Recreation Center in East Los Angeles. Also shown was a newly restored 35mm print of 10,000 Kids and a Cop, a 1948 short film produced by Costello that highlighted the work of his youth foundation. In 2009, Costello was inducted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame, further cementing his place as one of the state's most beloved entertainers. While Abbott and Costello were not professional baseball players, their influence on the sport's cultural legacy earned them a special place in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Since 1956, a plaque and a gold record of their legendary Who's on First routine have been on permanent display at the museum. Additionally, a video of the skit plays on a continuous loop in the exhibit area, ensuring that future generations of baseball fans can enjoy one of the greatest comedy routines of all time. Lou Costello's legacy lives on through his timeless performances, proving that true comedy never fades. His films and routines continue to bring laughter to audiences decades after his passing. But his life was not without tragedy. From the devastating loss of his young son to his struggles with financial troubles and health issues, his journey was as painful as it was extraordinary. What are your favorite memories of Abbott and Costello? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives into the lives of Hollywood's greatest legends, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more stories of the icons who shaped entertainment history.